Hello, everybody. I'm feeling quite tired today. Tonight, I should say. Gonna make the best of it because we got 32 more to get through. So let's just have at it. Let me throw some of the simpler parts up here. Get these knocked out. Okay. Hello, Plastic Puffs. Hello, not a moderator. Hello, a duck. Hello, Keith. Hello, Keyhole Gob. All right. So the first one we're going to look at is Zitnix's part. We're going to try to finish out this tier list. Where is that? There it is. Ooh, quality has dipped. Back. Certainly on the simpler side of things. Smooth transition into it. Yeah, execution and deco might be a little low side, though I will have to say I didn't have to make too many fixes. Yeah. I'll try to be as tolerant as I can. So I recognize that people are, some of these people are brand new, and I fully understand that. Zitnix's part, it's a good section. Remember, we're doing this good, great, excellent, superior. Every part is good. There's no bad parts. So just want to preface that. Zitnix's parts, definitely on the simpler side of things. I think it's still executed decently well. No fixes other than a couple secret ways that need to be fixed. The rocket part, this rocket, I believe, yeah, you can kind of go anywhere inside it. That's why we have a blue portal in the Q section, just to make sure that that's not possible to do. So, is it a B tier? I don't think so, personally. And the reasoning why is there's not any sync background-wise. It's pretty bare bones in the air deco part. I would personally say this is a I good. I would personally probably put it here. If it had a little bit more energy via background pulsing, a couple air deco pieces sprinkled throughout, I would definitely put it in gray, as well as like some background stuff. Right now, it feels a bit too empty, which nothing wrong with that. I think that is a good part for the collab, for sure. Yeah. Actually, might move it down a little bit. Yeah, this had gameplay issues, so I think that's a good spot for it. Well, no, its gameplay's pretty. I'm just gonna put there. Yeah, okay. All right, next one we're gonna look at is Ramses. I've not ranked your part yet, New Prince. We'll probably do that in the stream. There's Ramses' part. Yeah, to me, this is a solid good. We have really cool gameplay, and even if it's a little simple, We got some air deco filling in some of the space, and we also got strong background pulses. Additionally, I didn't have to do too many fixes to this, so yeah, I would put this solidly in the great tier. Where exactly I would put that? I think I like Fusers slightly better. So, although I can see a toss-up for this, I think I actually put a Fuser because it does do some more interesting design elements. But these are both very solid parts back to back. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if some of the background pulses are the best choice, but I certainly do enjoy the gameplay and the execution. Like, that feels solid. Yeah, I might even move that slightly higher. Yeah, I might put it right there. Simple, but it's effective. So, no, it's not better than your part, Pancake. Pancake, your part is crazy good. Actually, I might move it a little bit higher. I think it's probably around 4x4s in quality. I think I like 4x4s better, but yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at this next one. So this is Widario's part. That's a hard one for me to find. Where is it? There it is. It's after this one. Okay, Widario starts right here. Yeah, again, I think this is a great part. That's the beginning. Lots of stuff filling up some of the space. We got some really cool designs going on here. Not as strong pulse work though, and I did have to make some gameplay fixes into this because there was some awkward timings. Otherwise, it's pretty solid. I'm gonna play it one more time for y'all. I'd call that solid. Solid, great tier. I would probably put it... Personally, I'd probably put it right there. Maybe a little higher. Yeah, a little higher. Solidly in the middle for that one, so yeah. Yeah, Potato, your part's gonna be soon. Next, I think we got Stars. Is that Raw? I don't remember. Which part is Raw GD's part? They have their name inside it, right? This next person is Stars. I think that one's at the bottom. Oh, yeah, I know which part theirs is, yeah. Let's look at Stars' part. And that would be after this, yeah, right after Slurpy Goat. All right, so note that the background pulsing was added later by Enola K. So that's the part we're looking at. I did have to make a few gameplay nerfs to this. It used to be a little bit too difficult, but we fixed that up. Plays pretty well too now. We did have to do some slight changes. The decoration does feel a little bit on the sparse side. And I do wish there was a little bit more structuring to this. Kind of felt like they copped up by just doing chains, which can work. But it feels pretty empty. Like, even with the air deco in the background, it feels a little bit on the emptier side. So, execution is pretty decent, I would say. I do like the giant pupils around the monster by using the pulse sticks. That's a clever way to do that. Yeah, it plays fine. There's some awkward visual stuff, but otherwise it's pretty solid. Question is, is it in top of good or bottom of great? Would we say is it right here in good, or is it kind of right here in the great? I could see an argument for being right here ish, but let me know your thoughts. Highest of C, okay. Anyone else have any opinions regarding this placement? Going once, going twice. No other opinions? No verdict. Case closed. Keeping it in the top good. All right, let's look at potatoes parts near the end here. Oh, that's the middle of potatoes part. There we go. This is the right at the beginning of potatoes part. What I really like is plasma puffs helped create a great transition between these two parts, so it feels really natural. This feels a lot like GD Cyborg's part in like the decorative feeling of it. Only we have a couple of added decals. These air deco decals really do help bring it together, and these chains look really cool. The gameplay in this part is really fun. There is some spots that you can skip. Although if you try to skip that, you have to do a pretty difficult jump. But I believe it is a possible swag route. Let's take a look. It'd be pretty hard to do that, but you could, with the normal rocket, go down under. Yeah, and he asked me to replace the face at the top, which I did do with this. So I don't think this is an A. This reminds me very much of like Cyborg's part visually with some extra added deco. So I was actually thinking high excellent, a high excellent. So I'm not adding a coin. We already have 22 coins. Coins are staying where they are. Yeah, I do love the execution of this. I can't remember if the pulses were added in post. I can't remember if Potato had those. Potato, do you remember if you originally had pulses, or was that something added by Enolake? Yeah, there were. Okay, that's what I thought. Sorry, I knew there was a couple parts that were missing them, but I would personally put this somewhere up here. I'd put it here, personally. I think it's simple and executed things quite well. So, gameplay solid, pulsing is solid. Fixes were very little. I think I had to fix a couple secret ways. So, yeah, good work. All right. Just going to continue doing what I have in the order here. Let's talk about Froggy. I think I've already talked about Froggies, but maybe, yeah. I think it's after Blackbirds. Yeah, Froggy starts right here. Froggy is actually like the first that has teleport blocks in the gameplay. Yeah, and Froggy also had a lot of fakes in their parts. Go over this. So I think I added a spike here just to help show the player that they need to jump into this block, as well as an arrow also helping reinforce that, hey, you need to get into this block. And what I did, there used to be a spike here. I erased that spike. So either if you fall or if you jump out of that teleport, if you fall out of that teleport, either way you will be saved and you can hit the orb. That was my thought process in balancing that. Let's see here. I believe the spikes in this part removed back upwards and downwards to make it a little bit more open. And anytime you see these particles coming out of a spike, that's because Froggy originally had a pad there. And the pad made things very, very confusing for the average player. So I put spikes on top of all of them to help distinguish it as you're supposed to jump over. So I did that over here as well. And then this, you have to tap this, which you can see this block and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to teleport up. And once again, I made it, if you don't do anything, you fall and survive. If you do something, like you jump afterwards, you will hit the sinker and fall and survive. There used to be a spike at the end of here because you're supposed to hit the sinker. I erased that because it was too difficult. And then you're into the next part there. So Froggy's part visually has enough to work. I do like the pulsing. I wish you could see this triangle a little better. I think you have to hit the sinker to see that. But some of the designs I'm not too huge on personally. They look like the black ones look fine. Some of the other ones kind of look a little odd in some spaces. I don't know. I think they look okay. So I would say I put decoration as decent. Yeah, decent deco. Execution, a decent execution again. A couple problems I had to fix, especially with nerfing. But see you, new prints. We will get to yours in this video. I would put this solidly in the great tier. Where in the great tier? I would probably put it probably there. I don't know, that seems a little harsh. Put it here. Yeah, designs are pretty decent. Below maroon, you're thinking right here, actually. You don't know? Yeah, it's hard to rank the stuff in the great tier, so. You know, I'm actually put right next to Dario's, maybe right below Dario's. I think Dario did a better job with the gameplay than Froggy did, and they kind of have a similar feeling in the decoration. I think that's probably a better location. All right, New Hippo is the next one on our dock here. What part is it? Towards the beginning. Yeah, right before raving. Yeah, very South Korean heavy part. I fixed the visual transition between Raving Rafters and New Hippos before the level got uploaded. But, hey, Bomp. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I like the shattering that they did here. It looks a little on the odd side. These orbs used to have spikes in them. I took those out because it was a little awkward. Yeah, a lot of South Korean flags. Korean is written throughout the level. I really hope it's appropriate because I cannot read Korean. Otherwise, deco-wise, I do like the flags a lot. I really wish they filled in the black using grid blocks so that it didn't look like it was half empty. There's like a lot of dot art, but it's just like there's the black trailing after it. Doesn't look necessarily the best. These 3D objects look pretty cool, but once again, I really wish the flags were filled in completely. Gameplay is pretty solid. I did have to, I think, move a couple things over, just make sure that it worked for every input type. Yeah, there's also these pads which can sometimes be misleading to the player too. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little torn. I would say it's probably a low excellent. I think because the gameplay is decent, it would be put here. But yeah, high B, low A, really? I think if the flags are filled in and we had a little bit more consistent decoration, it could be that. But I do think that the fact that there's so many execution problems, like the flags missing stuff, there's like patchwork inside the grid blocks here. There's like just void here. There's nothing filling in the empty space. I don't think it's an excellent, personally. Um, these blocks are really cool, but once again, we have a lot of just like black hanging out past blocks, and there's like deco missing inside the flags. The flags are very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it should probably go a little higher. I just don't know where to put this. I'll just put it in the middle of great. Just put it there. Like, smack dab in the middle. Call it good. Yeah. As you can tell, I had a long day, so just trying to get through this the best we can. 25 left. Ghastly Dasher's part is back here. Starting right on this orb. Now, those who attended the playtesting streams will know that this part gave me a headache when trying to balance it. Because depending on how you hit this used to be an orb. Depending on how you hit the orb would change how you would hit this portal. Which would then change your director to either smash into this spike, smash into this spike, or smash into the top spikes, being unable to hit this orb in the portal. The ending is really good. I like that ending. It works very well. Otherwise, putting a block here helped. There's still problems with hitting this incorrectly. So yeah, there's still some gameplay issues. It works like I would say 80%, 85% of the time. You have to like really do something wrong. Like you have to enter something really late to trigger the bugs in that part. But it is something worth keeping in mind. Past that, I didn't have to do anything else to this. I do like the background pulsing at the end. I think that works well. Would have liked to see a little bit of that throughout the rest of the level, though. Where to put it? Once again, I think it's a great part. It's honestly a minor nitpick gameplay thing from me. And I think it looks pretty decent. I will put it right there. Unless people argue otherwise. High great. Maybe. Low great. I'm going to put it in middle great. I do like the ending designs. Higher than Fly Ninja. Fly Ninja has some really cool blocks, though. I don't know. Fly Ninja's pulse sync, I think, is very good. Which is why I think it's up there. But all right, let's rank a little bit more here. Hydrofox. I'm not going to get bogged down in the individual tier placements. I think what's more important is putting them in the tiers. Because we got a lot to go, have a lot of stuff to get through. Oh. I don't remember where Hydrofox's is. I don't remember what number Hydrovox is. Oh, there it is. Okay. Starting right here on this pad hit, we get Hydrovox's part, so. Yeah, again, the pulsing is very subtle and very, it matches the music very well. There is, unfortunately, something I really don't like about this part. First off, I had to change some gameplay stuff, particularly of lowering these spike obstacles. And then I had to, there used to be orbs here, and I raised the orbs because they just made the jump a little awkward. These spikes were changed a little bit too. Something I do need to mention about this part. You see these dots? See the dots on the spikes? Those used to not be one little grid block dots. Those used to be the 1.4 block dots, which I didn't get told until Plasma Puffs went through checking object IDs. So I had to make an update that fixed this, as well as a couple swag routes in the LDM. But I don't understand why people keep messing that up. It's the grid dot block. There was no black blocks. So I do have to keep that in mind when grading this part. There was a little bit of gameplay awkwardness as well as fixing it, but design's very simple but clean. I do think there could have been a little bit more to the background, though. I wrote out their name in black bricks. I think it looked a little bit better than having the black blocks. I think this could have been decorated better as well, this block that Raven Rafters is on right now. Also, they stopped doing the dots for the last couple spikes. Just a small inconsistency. Not a huge deal. But, yeah. It's definitely a great part. Some problems regarding the wrong blocks. It still looks and plays pretty well. So I'm tempted to put it probably right here. If it didn't have the block problem, I'd probably put it a little bit higher inside this, in the great tier. But I don't think they were trolling. I think they just genuinely did that. And like Seb the Nose, he used blue orbs. And BK Gaming Online, I think, used pink orbs. Okay, next one is IEL3 or IEL3. I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but right after Eggbirds. Yeah, so not really any post sync, but they can get away with it because they're on one of the calm reset points of the song. And this is one of the cooler styles in the collab, in my opinion. Very like Sunset reminiscent. The only problem was if a block collided with these black pillars, it'd be impossible to see the jump. So I added jump indicators, and I think that's all I added to this section. So there's added jump indicators. I think I also moved some of these pad blocks out a little bit, so you'd be more landing on them more accurately. But very minor changes. I really like the way this looks. I think it's a solid looking part. This would be something I'd put probably in the bottom of excellent. But yeah. I personally think it's an excellent part. So I would move it to the bottom of excellent. I really like the style personally. I also like how unique it is. I would put it probably right below King Cath. Those two parts kind of work hand in hand as well. Actually, no, I'm going to put it above King Cath because I think it has a little bit more decoration filling up the space than King Cath did. I think it's a little bit better executed in that regard. But yeah, I like that part a lot. Yeah, solid use of the ground spikes in that section. Great showcase of what you can do with those. Next is, I like Curry 24. They're right near NLK's part. So, oh, I just found out today that we had 4 parts in the gigacollab that used a non 1.0 block that I haven't fixed yet. If you know the corner grid block without the corner, that block, it's not a 1.0 block. And apparently, to be honest, Jonathan used 2,000 of them. So guess who gets to fix that this week? It's a never-ending process. The grid block that's a corner that doesn't have the dot. Hey, Raving Rafters. Oh, Raving Rafters, actually, they also found out that the fade trigger that you and FN Fuser used was also a non 1.0. So I had to fix your fade trigger to be the green version of it instead of the yellow version. The yellow version was introduced quite a bit later than the green one. So yeah, that was also something that somebody pointed out to me. So I'll be fixing both of those in an upcoming update. But yeah, it's the corner shaded without the hitbox. Yeah, exactly right. Raving Rafters. Anyway, here's I Like Curry's 24's part. Yeah. Amazing Build Man was the person who found all of these, so he has all the information on it. The entire chain was copied directly from the list below the part in the building copy. Yeah, Reapertron has some as well. And there's some other ones as well. Here's I Like Curry 24's part. I really like the blocks, surprisingly. I think it's a good showcase of some of the stuff that you can do with like the half slabs and some of the later blocks. Like this block design you can kind of miss, but there's like lines through this and it gives a really nice effect when you look at it closely. So yeah, I'll have to make sure all those are out of the collab. So it's but yeah, I like the filling in of space as well. The pulse sticks feel a little erratic, but they are all connected, which is phenomenal. Again, the use of this block, that block is pretty cool. Not so clean blocks here, but that is all right. Things do feel like they're floating a little bit, but I would say the execution is overall decent. Visual effect, I would also say, is pretty good. Simple pulsing as well. Gameplay, I don't think I changed anything in this part actually. It was a pretty solid section. I do think it puts it at a low excellent for me, but I would love to hear what you have to say, everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep the chaotic nature most I can when working on these. So high B, low A. Yeah, that was my idea too. Given that I didn't have to make any alterations, I'm thinking a low A. I'd actually probably put it here. Yeah, that's all fine, Raving Rafters. We appreciate you being in here and joining us. I'm going to put it in the excellent just because I didn't have to do anything. It was a perfectly fine part all on its own, so no alterations were needed. So, yeah. All right, next one is just Cody 97, not the Cody, but just Cody. So not the Cody that built in 1.0, but this is just Cody. This part starts right here. He had to have the fall after cubic extrude part, so I tried to make it a little easier for him by putting in this, and I think that helped. I always felt a little bit meh on this part, and then like one day I just kind of looked at him and was like, yeah, this is really cool. Like, it's very subtle, but like you look at the black blocks versus the grid blocks, don't think much of it. Then you realize this was made in 1.0. They made solid blocks, solid snowflake design. We got the kind of like the ramp type designs. Now, I do have to say the pulsing, I believe, was added in post by NLK. There used to be no pulses in this section. You used to just follow the exact same background as Cubic Rib did, which Cubic Rib followed the same background as Hendog Games did. So, hey, Belly Snake. But this part with the added pulses looks excellent. If it had the pulses to begin with, I would say like a mid-tier to high A. Just as it is, I think it's solid, low excellent maybe. So I do think it is an excellent, but maybe on the lower end. Probably... I'll put it there, yeah. Yeah. Whew. 20 more. We got this. Okay, Kinda Expert. They're the maker of Old Beast. The part's back here. Starting right here. Yeah, lots of variation in their blocks. Once again, things kind of feel like they're just floating, but I like this wave pattern that happens, and I do love when stuff stays on the ceiling. I love that flip effect with everything's on the ceiling. Really cool designs. Would have maybe like to see some connection between all of them. But I do think it's a pretty solid part. What are y'all's thoughts on that to those who are paying attention? OBS, please don't crash. I'm thinking another maybe low excellent here. I would probably put it probably put it there. Yeah, I'll put it here. Yeah, I think the designs are pretty cool. I just wish things were more connected. So I'm having a hard time deciding where to put this in the tiers. Yeah, I think we're gonna put it right below ampersand. I think if it was more cohesive in its structuring, it could have definitely taken top of excellent. All right, this is, I forgot what their Discord name is, but this is Little Nuggets part, I think. So this is the Miltons. Starting right here. Yeah, Little Nugget for real 12. Now this is another choke point. That's a lot of inputs you gotta make, and the inputs kind of feel a little weird, but they do get really consistent. I had a blast playing this once I kind of learned how to play it. I will say this jump right here can be scary, because if you don't tap early enough, you do crash into that. Definitely helps sell the chaotic atmosphere in the pulsing. The decoration is certainly a little on the simple side. We do have moments of air deco as well. These grid block structures kind of help fill in that extra space as well. Nice auto part. I added their name right here. I'm not sure if that helped or hurt the part, but yeah. I would like to have seen a little bit more variation in the air deco placement. A lot of it kind of feels like they just kind of spammed it in a way that would cover up some of the space. Yeah, I think having a more strategic use of that could be looking pretty cool. Oh, the green mass is was Veef Gaming's part. Yeah, so they have like a cube portal, really unique gameplay structuring there. Yeah, I think this is a great part. Gameplay, a little learning, but fun. Visuals are a little simple, but maybe I probably would put it here. Actually, maybe about here, but yeah, I think the gameplay just put a little bit over Cyborgs because the gameplay is quite fun. So, yeah, nice work there. I would say that is a solid, great tier. Yeah, no problem. It was great having you in the collab. Malaysian's part is next, which is right here after Marshmallows. Yeah, so Raving Rafters took the hard route. It's the coin route. It makes everything blind getting into Blue Neon 16 section, which I personally don't like. I'm going to pull up my verification of it so you can kind of see what it should look like. So we gotta look for little parts here. Oh, give me a second. Okay, right here. This is the main route. So I added this spike here to try to prevent people from wanting to go down into that yellow portal, because whenever I got down the yellow portal, I would die on this part because of all the blind clicks. So, you gotta jump over this to continue off the main route, which is very, very smooth gameplay on the main route there. Visually, very samey, as a very like grid-like structuring with the columns there. There's not a whole lot of designs either. These designs do look pretty cool, but it is very samey throughout the entire part. So, oh, Chibuti, we already, I think, ranked your part, right? Yeah, Tributi, I think we already ranked your part. We're not ranking in any particular order. So. Hello? Tier list, tier maker? Hello? Hello? Y'all, I think my stream is Yeah, it froze. Oh, that's just great. Hang on. Give me a second. Back where I need to be. Okay, let me pull up Malaysian's part again. Yeah, another thing is I don't like how, especially in the beginning block, you can see it. You can see the pillar going through the block. That looks a little on the odd side for me. Yeah, I'll mention Ra's name when we get to it. So I do think the execution overall in this part was a little on the low side. This is a corner I added as well. I do think there could have been better execution, as well as the decoration probably could have been a little bit on the better side as well. I still think it's probably down here somewhere in the greats. Although I'd probably put it like there. If it had a little bit more variation, I would probably boost a little higher. But let me know what you think as well regarding this. Perhaps I'm judging it too harshly. Very possible. Thanks for reminding me to get rid of the ads. I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to leave it at the bottom of the grade for right now. Okay, Maniac Dan's. I mean, that's so cool. I will mention, these jumps used to be, if you tapped them really early, you could actually mess up the offset and kill yourself by hitting these orbs in a weird way. I did fix it, though, by pushing the orbs out. So now it's consistent in any way that you tap it. So, some fake pads to jump over, which is always nice. That's the only thing I fixed, was pushing the orbs out, just to make that part a little bit more consistent. Other than that, visuals are really strong. Execution, I mean, it's excellently done. There's some, I think, slight pulse changes during these portal parts. I also really like the spikes that are in the ground spikes. Those look really cool, the way that they're spaced. That looks awesome. Yeah, just all the blocks. This is an easy superior for me. It does everything it needs to do. Like, execution's great, decoration's great. Maybe some more background deco, but I don't think it was necessarily needed. I would definitely put this in the S tier. I would honestly put it here. MIDI-esque synthesizer. Yeah, that makes sense. I think this is a good spot for it. Actually, I might even put it above Psycho-Pro. And maybe above... yeah, I'll put it above Lyra. Why not? Yeah, I think it's really, really solid. Easy S tier for me. Easy superior. Okay, speaking about Marshmallow, we saw that part earlier. Let me go back to that. Right here. Yeah, it's another part where I don't think the execution was the strongest, personally. Like, these blocks especially, I don't like the look of them. And there's just like some random decals that don't really connect anywhere. So I don't know how to feel about that. The path in the grid is really nice. I will say the grid expands really high. I think I actually had to erase a couple of it to save some objects. The butterfly is really nice. Love the butterfly. The swirls as well look really cool, but again, the blocks look a little bit odd. The blocks look a little... The block design in this whole part looks really strange. This ending, though, looks quite nice. I do like this. There's a couple visual issues, but they're fairly noticeable. Although I do wish, I think the chunks missing out of these look a little strange. And then you can see here, maybe not the smoothest cutoff there, but that is A-okay. Yeah, I just don't like the blocks. I think like the background pulsing, the gameplay is fine. Background pulsing is fine. Some of the background deco is fine. Just the blocks just don't sell it for me. So I'm still putting this in excellent. Probably would put this... Probably put it there for right now. Or sorry, not excellent. Great. I meant great. I don't know why I said excellent. Yeah, I put it probably here in the lower great. So. No, I think you did it fine. I think you did it justice. 15 left. Molten Gears. It's farther up here. There it is. Here's just Cody. Molten Gears starts right here. Yeah. Regarding the background pulsing in this part, you might think it doesn't sync, but it actually does sync. It syncs to the measure, not the beat. It syncs to the measure recording. So it syncs to every 2 beats, which is a very interesting sync method that I didn't see anyone else use. So I think the pulses there work really well. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that works really nicely. The parts decoration, not a huge fan of the orbs down here, but I do like the box designs. And these portal clusters are the main thing. They're like pipes, and you can go through them. You can go on top of them. The coin actually has you go through more of them. It's very cool because it's a way to make light up blocks. Because when you step on them, they turn white, which I think is a creative design for that. Yeah, that's a really cool way to do that. We get like light up blocks. So I quite like this part. I do think it's missing a little bit of decoration to put it into the excellent tier, but I think it's definitely a high grade. Like I would probably put it right here, right before Potatoes part. Well, for the light up blocks, I think I'm actually going to put it up here. I would love to see someone actually use that light up block concept in a 1.0 level in the future. Maybe I'll attempt that myself. I think that would be awesome. All right, next one is Music's GD. The part's right after Slods. Watch the Slods here. Yep, so I finished the dragon. Music's, okay, now keep in mind with Music's part, the pulses weren't there. This was something NLK added in post. Definitely on the simpler side. The pulses also add a whole lot to it. We'll say, I'm pretty sure they wanted pulses, they just forgot, which fully understand. There is a pretty low due date on this, but yeah, design's simple, but they work for the collab's purpose. I do like that they have the grid blocks kind of filling in some of that empty space. Could have liked a couple more maybe around here too as well. Helping connect some of these structures together to make it more cohesive. This transition I think's okay. I don't like the empty space there, but it's whatever. Saves on objects, so. But yeah, I don't think I had to fix any gameplay in this. I think all we had to fix was adding pulses because it was solid gameplay. Decorations, okay. Execution, I think, was solid except for the fact that there wasn't pulsing. I still think this is a great part, and I would probably put it... Probably put it right after cruise, right before cruise part here. So, yeah, this is where I'd probably set it. Do you agree with me, chat? This look good for that? Sure? Alright, awesome. New Prince GD's part. Unfortunately, New Prince had to leave. I did not reach their part in time. But they're right after SumpX. This part's got some interesting ideas. Like, I think it's space related in some of these sections, like the stars here. And these, like, octahedral spike designs look really nice. There's a lot of portal spam at the end here. And there was also some others that we ended up erasing because it didn't look entirely great. Yeah, we also added a custom ground to their parts because they originally built on the floor. And we actually needed their part raised up. They were one of the first people to build. So they built on the floor. We actually found out that we needed the part raised. But yeah, if you're wondering what all this in the background is, it's their name written down. And these hills made of grid blocks are actually something I added. So it used to just be their name and these stars and cube portal things in the background. Which it was rather empty when I first received. There also, I don't think, used to be pulsing. I think that was something NLK added. So, I do think this is a good part. Where I would put it... I might actually put it here, and here's why. The gameplay in this feels quite flat. It's just like you're going through the motions type gameplay. Because normally you jump into this pad, which lets you jump, which is pretty cool, but then you're kind of just jumping over stuff on a flat surface. I feel like some of the other parts in the good tier did a little bit more with that, so I'm going to put it here. I would have liked to see a little bit more flair to the gameplay, personally, but it's still solid part for the collab, so very happy they were able to join us. Not a moderator's part. Is not a moderator still in chat? Not a moderator still here? Are they not? Oh, yep, perfect. Well, let's talk about this part. So this part kind of gave me a little bit of a headache, and that's because it's one of those parts where in a vacuum, it works very well. If this was its own solo thing, it works extremely well. In the context of a gigacollab, a lot of care had to be put into making sure things are solid. So first things first, this used to have a dot ramp. I had to erase that because if you flew straight into the ramp, it would kill you. So what I had to do is do this. This is a teleblock going all the way up to the ceiling, which teleblocks in a rocket part only work when they go past the ceiling. So that's what I did here. Works anytime, no matter if you hold into it, if you tap into it, if you do nothing into it, it will always boost you up and not kill you. So that was part number one. I don't hold that against moderator because that was a weird transitional thing. But here's his part. And these music notes are added by NLK in the transition. But yeah, this is a Rhythm Doctor style part. That means, yeah, the ramp would kill you if you flew straight into it. Like if you straight flew into the ramp, it would just sometimes kill you. It's a bug related to the collision. This is a very creative part. You have to tap Don't tap on the squiggle lines, I believe. Tap on the diamonds when they get off screen. So the moment the diamond goes off screen here is when you want to tap. Of course, in context of a gigacollab, you're not gonna be able to know that. You'd have to learn that, and that's not something that we entirely want to have happen. So I ended up adding pulse stick indications to every part you need to tap in the rocket, which helped, except that people tap these at different times. So what I actually had to do is I had to nerf the spikes and the mechanism that made you die if you tap these wrong. And what ended up happening is I nerfed it so much that if you held up the first one, you'd pass the part. That's definitely on me. But it's one of those things where it was just really hard to balance. Yeah, it's insanely strict when it wasn't nerfed, but when it is nerfed, it's free. Although Slodziak seems to be having a problem with it right now when he's trying to beat the level. It's a very interesting part to have to grade. I think if in a vacuum, this part is a superior. But because I had to make a lot of changes to make it work in the Mega Collab, I'm actually thinking it's going to be a high excellent. And I would personally put it here. No, I'd put it here. I think it is still a very high excellent. Yeah. Yeah, it gets desynced on wide devices, which the tap indications help fix that. So, yeah, it's a really cool part. With all the fixes that I needed to do, though, I'm actually probably gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it right below dragons. I think the fixes that I needed to do takes a little bit away from it, but I think it's an excellent part. I also like the transition you did between the two parts. Yeah, it wasn't. It was a pain to fix, but a lot of that was not your fault. Like, the ramp wasn't your fault. Using the regular spikes wasn't your fault. It was just something that was like, we had to be creative with it. Had to figure it out. Thank, please. Hello. Thank you. Okay, next is NTB's art, which is actually right over here. This is probably my favorite sync section of the entire collab. The pulses just sync so well to the melody of the music. I also think these blue vines work really well tying in like this circuitry feeling section. These grid blocks look really cool. It's easy to read through, not many problems. I think it's decently well executed. The transition was made excellent between these two parts. I think Sumpex helped make that a thing. But yeah, this I would also probably call a solid top excellent. I think if I don't know, if the block design I think was a little bit more cohesive. Then again, I think I did 0 changes to this. Except I know I added some pulse stick indicators. But other than that, I think I did no changes, so. Yeah, I'd say this is a solid A. Where would I put it? I'd put it here. 8th in A. We agree with that? Sure. Oh, you think it's better than Dragos? I'm not sure if it's better than Dragos. Although I do think it's better than this. I'll put it here. Put it here. Because I will say it was very reminiscent of their CC entry as well, at least the latter half. I really do like this part. So I think this is probably a good spot for it. All right. Next up is Oceanic Waves. Oh boy. This clip's not going to do it justice. There's so many ways you can do this part. So this is the coin route, which doesn't do the actual thing justice. Let me pull up. Ow. Here's the actual, one of the actual routes you can take. That's the top route. There's also a bottom route, which I didn't show in this. But the problem with this part is that, unlike the other parts that split, this part split in a very chaotic fashion. I honestly don't feel like the regular route is very solid, Raving Rafters, unfortunately. The orbs, if you tap them late, you screw it up. It's one of those things you kind of have to tap it correctly. Otherwise, you kind of mess it up. You can't go halfway into a route, otherwise it also kills you. If you hesitate on doing a route, it can be a run ender. And it is relatively far in the collab. I personally would have probably done the splitting differently, but I don't know how I would have done that. It's one of those things. Also, according to them, I missed a layer of blocks when I was copying it over. It's supposed to have a little bit more. A lot of the blocks that don't look filled in were supposed to have blocks behind it. Yeah, so like this section was supposed to have like black blocks filling these areas in. Apparently they had it on like layer 5 or something, and I didn't grab it when I was merging. So that's on me a little bit, but not something we're going to probably take away from. The design is a little bit on the messier side, but yeah, it's one of those weird parts I'm not sure what to think about. Not really sure where to put. I did have to do a lot of changes to this though, because it used to be really, really difficult. Like, I think the middle route was near impossible because they had spikes on both sides of the platform. So I'm thinking like top of great, maybe. Maybe like second great. Because I do think it probably could have been a bit better executed. And additionally, I had to fix a lot of gameplay problems. It was to the point where I think they almost completely redid it. But I was able to find a way to get it to work. It's a really hard part to like have to fix too, because like you have to fix 3 routes and make sure they're balanced with each other. It was not a fun fix for sure. So let me know what your thoughts are on that placement. I know that I probably have a bit of a bias. You thinking low A? Thinking mid B? Okay. So I'm gonna kind of even it out between the two of you. I'm gonna put it where I have it. So kind of like top of B. I think that's a fair assumption to make. Okay, 9 left. 9 left. Yeah, I mean, this was when I was verifying the level, Oceanic Waves part was one of the parts I was the most concerned with. Because during practice, I would always die trying to enter the middle route. So, what's going on with AdSense? I don't know. I don't use this Google account like ever, so that might have something to do with it. All right, next is Omnibudgergar. I don't know how to say their name. I'm so sorry. They have parts right after Psychopros. So here's their part. Now I will say the hardest fix I had to make in this section. First off, I had to nerf this. It used to be like an expanded triple, which was not fun to pass, but moving these closer together did help, and moving it downward helped. We didn't move it closer together. We moved the whole thing downwards because it used to be like 5 increments up, and that really made it a difficult first jump. I had to move this kind of out of the way. It's not shown in the showcase, but this got moved downwards because if you hit the orb slate, you would just crash into the spikes. These slabs were not here. This rocket portal used to be all the way out here. And what that meant is you had to control it into this straight fly, which used to be 8 increments like closer to itself. Like I expanded the bottom jaw down a lot to make sure that this was a fair flight. And yeah, we had to put in some slabs to help prevent an unsight readable rocket section there. So yeah, this is verified. What do you mean, oh god? Yeah, I think the rest of this was fine. Yeah, the rest was fine. It was just that rocket section and the first jump that really needed to get nerfed, because they were too hard. Oh, it is misspelled. You're right. I'm so stupid. Visually, I really like the first 2 structures. Those are like some Tormware level stuff. I really don't like the pad spam that's everywhere around here, though. Like, that feels unnecessary. In the demon is fine. And this is all fine with the ending as well. That's all good, but like the pad spam. And what you don't know is that this actually extends even further down. I don't like that. I know it's supposed to be like pouring liquid, but it looks a little bit on the messy side, personally. But other than that, it's a very well executed section. I do quite love the demon visual here, demon face visual. So I certainly think this is an excellent part. I think due to the fixes we had to make and some of the object spam, I'm going to put it in excellent instead of in superior. And I would probably put it... I'd probably put it here. Maybe that's a little harsh. I'm going to put it here, actually, yeah. Well, actually, I do think MacBook Pros did a better job with that. So I'm actually probably going to put it maybe right below Raving Rafters. Yeah, if they used portals instead of pads, it would have definitely helped with the object cut. That's why in my electric beach part, or my neon beach part, I used portals instead of pads for the sand. All right, Pentagon's part. Pentagon's part. Right after music's. A lot of pulsing to the music, which I love to see. Now, this part did have to be nerfed because a couple of these, like, there used to be ground spikes here that made this a really tight gap, so we erased a couple of them to make it an easier flight. We had to move a couple of these smaller ones around. This whole structure had to get shrinked down. And these had to be moved out away from each other because the flight was just a little bit too hard. Not too bad of a nerf, though. It was like very micro movement, like not micro, but small movements to fix that. Otherwise, the part looks solid with all the pulsing, and yeah, I would say this is probably on the low excellent. I put it here. I think that's a good. It's a mid-low A. I think it's slightly better than Ling Prods. So yeah. All right, Raffinet's part. Right after Obscura's, I believe. Yeah, here it is. Very 3D-esque. So. I had to do this because if you jump too late, you'd miss Magic's transition, so we added a bit of a 3D spike there. Yeah, I don't know how to feel. It is just 1.0, the normal 1.0 block, but it's done in a way that does feel unique and fresh because it's kind of like a 3D type sphere here. I do think it works. Destro, for instance, though, would probably hate this part because it uses a lot of stuff. So I do think it's a solid, great part. I agree. I don't think I would put it low B. I would probably put it mid to high B. I do think it works. I would probably put it. I think it's slightly better than Flying Ninjas personally, so I'll put it right there. Kind of in like the mid high. Well, I'm seeing a lot of people say low B, so maybe I should move it down. I'll put it right here. All right, we have Ra's part up next, which I think is further back here. Yeah, it's right before, right after Vandal. Maybe I should have done something to help with this visual transition. That's on me. I should have added some like ground there, but. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan on the spikes, but that's just a personal preference. I like how you can bounce off the ground here, as well as serving as particles. It serves as also a gameplay catch-up point, which I think is really cool. The designs are fine. Filling in the air deco, which is nice to see. This gameplay, I don't think I had to change at all. I think I maybe needed to add this because you could just slide into the rocket portal. Again, I'm not a huge fan on these spike spams, but the circle idea is really cool. Maybe some grid blocks in the background could look really nice, but yeah. Has some really nice gameplay ideas for sure. In regards of placement, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, we got 4 of the hidden ones. Like, yeah, I can fix some of that. Please don't be a nosebleed. I think I'm okay. I'd probably put this in high good. Probably put it right here. I think if the spike span was a little bit less and maybe having some stuff in the background could have looked really cool. But I could also see an argument for low B. I'm going to personally put it in high good tier. I do think there maybe could have been a slightly better execution, but I also understand it's their first collab ever. And I'd say that's really good for the first collab ever. Like, it's some great work. And okay, saying mid B. Ooh, maybe I should move it then. Anyone else want to put in some feedback where they think it should be placed? Maybe ABM, do you have an idea where you want it placed? Low B? Okay, we'll put it in low B. I'll put it right here. No, maybe I'll put it around here. So it's in the low grape, so yeah. I don't know if I agree with mid B. I don't think it's visually smooth enough for a mid B. And I'm not huge on the spikes at the end. So I'm gonna put it here for right now. Although maybe I should move it up because Zoob's had that object spam problem. I'll move it up a little bit. We'll put it there. Okay, Spark Tweeze parts at the near the very end. This part's very simple, but I think the placement that it's at in the song, that works for the better. It's very simple and very clean in the way that it's executed. I think it's a great part. Where in grade it goes, I'm not entirely sure, because it is very empty. I think I'd probably put it here-ish. Because I do like it a little bit more than Note Block Aces because of the way that it ends. Kind of ends the level. So. Alright. Sunny Shade. This is a very cool part. Like that's really pretty. Take a look at that again. That's the coin route that they're taking right now. The lower route, you get actually some cooler designs. Let's see if I can pull that up here. I'll wait through a little bit of these. So here's the lower route. I still take these orbs, but look at that design. That's a gorgeous design. Limgus Morgstar. I don't know what that means, but really like the pancake arrow. That works well. This I had to nerf. It used to be a way harder jump, but I kept jumping early. That's probably a skill issue on my end. But yeah, I think it's a really solid part. It's very well executed. Like even the logo looks so clean. This part's excellent. It's also very free in the way that you can take the gameplay, and I really like that. There's a lot of choices, and the choices are kind of given in a way where you can make your own decisions. A little bit of on the empty side in terms of air deco, but I would probably put this. I actually think it's a little bit better than Falling Paws. I put it right here. Maybe even better than the Psychopros. Yeah, we'll put it right here. Okay. We only got 3 left. All right. Next up is Sunrise, which is actually the part right before this, which starts right here. Now, something to mention, Sunrise didn't finish. They sent me what they had when the deadline reached. And because they were also a non-Discord person. So they sent me what they had done, and I said, hey, this is good enough for the collab. After the collab got released, they actually asked if they could add more to their section, which I said, no, it's the collab's out. So I'm not going to add more deco to any parts because that's also going to mess up the LDM. But yeah, so if it looks a little bit on the empty side, that's because it's technically not entirely finished. But I like it the way it is. I think it works decently well. It's not like a superior part, but I think it certainly warrants an excellent, personally. Unless someone disagrees with me. I do think it's probably a little bit on the lower end of the excellence. I probably put it here. What do we think? Going once. Going twice. Okay, let's finish this out. Supermint's part. Now, to those who missed it, me saying it in the live stream, this is actually not really built by Supermint. What happened is Supermint said, I don't think I can finish. I feel extremely sick. So he sent me the very bare bones layout of the level. And then I waited to see if he got better. He did not get better. So what ended up happening is I decorated and made sure everything was fixed. So this is actually my decoration job in the style of their level, El Dorito. So I tried to make it look temple-y, as well as keeping things like the rolling spike black hills, as well as the vines coming down. Try to keep that El Dorado temple vibe, as if Supermint would have built it himself. As such, I don't really have opinions on this. I would like y'all to rate this part for me, because I made it. I decorated it myself. Mid-A. Mid-A, somewhere in A, lower A. Okay. what do we feel about it going right after Xanax? How does this feel? This is kind of like middle of the pack, maybe middle of the pack low. So I sure. Any other thoughts on this, or shall we finish it out? Not seeing anything, so we're going to go ahead and finish it out. Last part is third size. I need to remember where it is. After the real darkness. Where is the real darkness? Yeah. Something worth noting is that I had to severely nerf this. What this used to be is there used to be no posts here. You had to fly through some crazy portal gameplay here, which was just way, way, way too hard. So what I ended up doing was I turned it into a hold because I didn't want it to be auto. So I was like, this used to be an upside down rocket when you entered. I had it be a hold, and you had to hold against this to then release and fall down here, and then hold again to get past these pads. That was too complicated to tell it off. Yeah, halfway points included in this part too. That was too difficult to tell the player before they entered it. So we just made it a normal rocket that you have to fly and then hit a gravity portal past the yellow pads, which made it a lot easier. But this took some finagling to get it correct. Halfway point is part of this part. Important to note that this text was made by Polvanok, not by Third Size. This triple has killed me more often than I'd like to admit. It's the perfect spot for a triple, granted. So, hello, Ultra Gamer. We're actually finishing off the tier list right now. Don't you skill issue me, Mr. I beat Deadlocked as my hardest. Okay? So, yeah. And then that leads into the Tormers part. So, it makes sense of that leading into a triple spike. This part works a whole lot better. There used to also be a spike here that I think was my fault that I had to erase that killed me during a good run. Don't you skill issue me either, Pancake, okay? My hardest is not Deadlock. That's Enola K's hardest. My hardest is this level. Yeah, regarding the designs, I think the designs are pretty cool. There's some really nice pillar designs. This I actually really like the blue here. I think it looks really cool. The grid blocks in that way also look really nice. Inside the tunnel looks a little bit on the messy side though. I'm not necessarily a fan of this. But otherwise, it's a pretty solid. I would put it in the excellent tier. Although not entirely that high because of all the fixing I needed to do in it. So I would probably put it... I think it did slightly less fixing on it than I had to do on Wes's, so I'll put it probably here. Thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Low A. Low A seems fair. Hello, Ismail the Best. We just finished the tier list. So now is the fun part where y'all get to help me potentially move some stuff. So we're going to go over the parts here. In the superior tier, top ranking is Ismail the best part. Ismail the best part is top. Zypher is second. Ratliffy's is third. Amazing Buildman's is fourth. Blackbird's is fifth. UG51's airship is sixth. Right up here. Tornware's is seventh. Majax is eighth. Plaza Puff's ninth. Maniac Dan is 10th. You think third and first should switch and no, okay. You would rather see this here and this here? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. This part, Ismail, the best part, is really good. I can move rats here. I don't know. I actually really like the gameplay of these other two a lot better than the star part personally, but that's, I guess, just a thing on me. So you want this to be the order? I personally think these should be swapped, but I don't know. Well, look how seamless that transition is when you put Ismail the best part here and Zypher's part here. Like visually on the picture, that's a really seamless transition. All right, we'll do this then. No, this isn't just my tier. This is everyone's tier list. I want to make sure that we're making like logical sayings here. Okay, I do still think Amazing Buildman deserves to be in a fourth place there. So I don't know why you're surprised to see your part at the top, because you did a really nice job with that. All right, Maniac Dan's was 10th. Sunny Shade is 11th. Lyort is 12th. Psychoprose is 13th. Falling Pie is 14th. Electrodonator 1 is 15th. Como Indo is 16th. Pancake is 17th. And Scarf the Neko is 18th in the superior tier. I'd say so. UG51. I would personally might move it down a little bit because these other two parts are very impressively visually, but your part was also a lot better gameplay wise. So I guess it depends who you ask. Okay, in our excellent, any other superior movements, or are we pretty happy with the order there? Oh, wait a second, see if people respond to that. Pretty happy with that. Feel like your part's quite low? Yeah, people were saying Como Indo's part should have been higher than yours, but I don't agree. I'd personally put yours like here. You think 7 and 8 should both switch 2 places up? You got to keep in mind though the gameplay in those plasma puffs, because the gameplay is like 2 spike jumps. Not above Falling Pies. You think it should be here? Yes. The reason Tarnware and Mad Jackson is not higher plasma puffs is because their gameplay is 2 spike jumps. Higher than yours? We're okay with that? And I frankly think Scarf should be higher than these two. Or higher than this one, at least. I still think Como Indo's part's like a mid-A. But that's just my opinion. Ooh, Scar's part also works really well in the Como Indos. It's fun to look at the visual transitions on the pictures next to each other. Yeah, the problem was the gameplay was boring. Like, it wasn't yeah, the gameplay was just too simple. It was like you were jumping over a spike, waiting, jumping over one more spike. Meanwhile, with like Blackbird's part, the art was kind of around the gameplay, so it was a lot more engaging. Perfect. I'm gonna call that good on the S tier, so let's move down to the excellent. So excellent, there's a lot more levels. We got Reapertrons in the first spot, Enolakes in the second spot, Slodziacs in the third spot, Not a Moderator in the fourth spot, NTB in the fifth spot, Mayes in the sixth, Russian Rob Top in the seventh, TWO in the eighth, To Be Honest Jonathan in the ninth. I'm actually going to move To Be Honest Jonathan's part. And here's why. I moved it down a lot of places because he used 2,000 objects that weren't from 1.0. Finding that out today has kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, so. Yeah, but Ultra Gamer, that usually happens in tier lists. Usually it happens that there's a little in S, lot in A, the most in B, and then less in C, less in D, and less in F. You think Polvenox should be lower and null, okay. Keep in mind, it is the very ending of the collab, but it is very empty. So I can see that. Would there be a good spot? Does this feel more comfortable for Polvenox? Better? Okay. Anyway, so we got TW in 8th, Kid Box Game in 9th, MacBook Pro 16 in 10th, Cody in 11th. You think it should be a bit lower than where it is right now? Ultra Gamer? You think it should be lower than it is now? Where it was originally? I'm going to put it down here. I feel like this is a better spot because there really wasn't any sync, but it is also the conclusion. So it's an interesting thing. And once again, the tier orders don't matter all that much. 12th, To Be Honest Jonathan. 13th, Revving Rafters. 14th, Amna Budgerer Agar. 15th, Goldcraft. 16th, The Bwomp. 17th, Sumpex. 18th, Mine. 19th, Polvanok. 20th, Goldcraft. 21st, Eggbird. 22nd, Veef Gaming. 23rd, Tributy. 24th, Blue Neon 16. 25th, Xanax. 26th, Supermint. /me. 27th, Curlian. 28th, McChicken. 29th, Milton. 30th, Pentagon. 31st, Lingprod / 540 Backflip 045. 32, Sulky. 33, Third Size. 34, Wes. 35, Sodium Hydroxide. 36, Gabby GG's. 37, Just Cody 97. 38, One Bad Creator. 39, Ampersand. 40, Sunrise. 41, Kinda Expert. 42, Penguin Meme King. 43, Xlofi. 44, IEL3. 45, King Kath. 46, I Like Curry 24. 47th, Nitro 2, and 48th is Scorch. Yeah, some of like the fixing issues kind of held it back. Like Reapertrons had a couple small issues. I honestly think Chakins, if it had better gameplay, would be S. Yeah, so it's just some small issues. Hold some stuff back. All right, and the great. Did anyone have any movement they would like to do in the excellent tier? Yeah, the dragons had the layering issues. Not a moderator's part. Just had some gameplay problems. Stuff like that. See ya, ABMGD. All right. Great and good. I'm not too worried about order, but we'll go over them anyway. The Real Darkness is first. Then Oceanic Waves is second. Then third is Invo. Fourth is Chaken. Once again, these two would probably be higher if they didn't have gameplay issues. Fifth is Gania. Sixth, A Beginner. Seventh, Darionator. Eighth, Obscura GMD. Ninth, 4i4. 10th, Ramses Lol. Do you think One Bad Creator should be put higher? Where do you think it should be put? Plasma Puff. Because I can agree with that. My problem, the only thing I would say is it feels a little bit on the empty in the background. Maybe here. I'll put it above Wes. Wes did have a lot of gameplay problems, so I'm gonna put it there. Okay, Obscura is 12th, 4th, 13th. Ramses Low is 14th. Molten Gear is 15th. Terminator is 16th. Potato is 17th. BK Gaming Alliance 18th. Azulhino is 19th. Hydro Fox is 20th. Mantis Antics is 21st. Maroon is 22nd. Blind Ninja GD22 is 23rd. Heath is 24th. Dario is 25th. Froggy is 26th. Spark Twee is 27th. Muffins 808 is 28th. Gaslight Dasher is 29th. Note Block Ace YouTube is 30th. GD New Hippo is 31st. Cat at Kmart is 32nd. Perusia, or Liferum, is 33rd. Seb is 34th. F Infuser is 35th. Tim Tiger is 36th. Tunnit GD is 37th. Santi Fox is 38th. Kilty is 39th. Rayfinet is 40th. What's their name? No Name Stuff is 41st. Marshmallow is 42nd. Lil Nugget For Real 12 is 43rd. GD Cyber is 44th. Electric Speed 69 is 45th. Funny Fart is 46th. Dr. Dairy is 47th. Kite Curie is 48th. Musix is 49th. Crew is 50th. JD Jenna is 51st. Cat Yard is 52nd. Shadowed is 53rd. I do think Shadowed is a little better than Cat Yard personally. Actually, I'd probably put Shadowed up here. I do think with even stuff is fine. I lost count of the things, but then we have Raw, Bug Day Bay, Zoob, Malaysian, and Bobby Boy wrapping up the bottom of the great tier. Alter Gamer, I have played this level a lot. This level kind of feels like the son of mine. I know this in and out. First, any other things with the great tier? Another thing with this is you could give me any picture of any part and I could tell you who made it. Maybe not where it is, but I could tell you who made it. So if we did a GeoGuessr of this, I'd probably ace it. I care a lot about this level. I put a lot of effort into making sure that it played well, looked consistent, that it really was a well created level. I spent so much effort trying to make sure that everybody got a good collab experience and that the collab turned out well. So that's kind of why I say it's kind of like a son of mine, because I took care of it. All right, in the good tier, at the top we got Stars, then Hi There Eric, then Slurpy Go to 1, then Zitnix, Matt Martz, Deliquente Dash, Green Luck YouTube, Asmit39, Your Global Goat, Hendog Games, Pinkman Lol, New Prince GD, Imperial Arctic. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Billy Steak 3, Dawn Official, I Exist, Cubic Rube, and Curly Crew. Glad you had a good experience. I had a good experience hosting. Although it definitely maybe aged me a little bit when there's people who weren't getting their parts done. Any movement we want to do on the... To be fair, the cruise was more just because we wanted to make sure that it was matching the standards of the other sections. But once again, all of these parts are good. None of the parts are bad. I very much appreciate everybody's contribution to this collab. So, no, I am just in good. Number 8 in good. Andrew Science, which part is yours? Space one? Yeah, so this would be higher. The problem was your LDM erased blocks they had to step on, which created giant secret ways. And part of this tier list was keeping in mind how easy fixes was, as well as merging. We struggled to fix the LDM problem because we had to select the individual dots. So it would probably be in the great tier, but because of the LDM issue, we had to move it down a little bit. Does that make sense? Otherwise, your part plays fine. So, yeah, I know. It just happened that the dot gameplay was removed. I could move it up. I do feel like we were being a bit harsh on the LDM. So I'd probably move it up to maybe... Yeah, probably up to here. I think at the start of the good is probably a better spot for it. Just being a little bit too harsh on the LDM problem. Yeah, this is why I'm asking for feedback, so. Yeah, Froggy, you're not the only one who had that. Like, even people like Torrenware, their part looked better in the editor than it did during the actual playing, so. There's a lot of parts that I feel like the actual playing through it didn't give it enough justice, so. Yeah, you did a great job. It's a great part. Outside of the LDM issue, it plays really nicely. I appreciate you joining the collab, Andrew Science. Yeah, you and Polvanok kind of helped show off the dot art element of 1.0 building, which I really appreciated. Okay, any other changes we want to make? Any at all? Because if not, I'm going to save and download this. Once again, No parts are bad. This was just taken in context of how easy it was for me to merge, how well executed we thought as a group the part was in comparison to the others, and as well as visual appeals for like thumbnails and stuff. So, yeah. If there's no other things, I'm going to go ahead and save this or figure out how to save this. So, yeah. I don't know if that's going to leak my files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end stream, save it, and then probably paste it into the server. So, yeah. Thank you all for joining this final live stream. I appreciate it. Let me scroll to the top for the ending. It was a lot of fun looking back through every single part, putting it through a ranking, talking with people about thoughts and stuff. So I appreciate y'all for joining me. All right. Have a good rest of your night or day, depending on where you live. Hopefully we can get this thing rated. For now, goodbye.